Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us. We have a special presentation here and some discussion with the CEO and Managing Director of EQ Resources, Mr. Kevin McNeil. He's going to talk to us about some tremendous production numbers. It's been a great quarter, Kevin. And
thanks, Peter. Good to see you again.
Yeah, a good quarter, some record production numbers in August, and to top off a great quarter.
Yeah, it's been really really exciting watching the developments happening, watch both mines climbing up as month on month. Basically, we have the odd little slip here and there, but mostly it's been a ramp up as we go. So Pete, if you don't mind, I do have a couple of slides here with. There we go. So that's just a little bit of a table of contents there that I've organized, Pete. So it's a bit of a hybrid here, but I did do some slides in anticipation, right, of what you'd be asking here. But certainly the quarterly production there, as you see, has ramped up from financial year Q4 last June all the way up to 20,000 MTUs in the company. So. And just for the listeners, like an MTU, that relates to about $335 US, and which makes up 10 kilograms of tungsten, and that's the way now we've it's sort of an industry standard, and that's what we started to report in because of the group and the different grades and the concentrates and such. So you see the tungsten price, it had a little blip up earlier in the year, and it's back around 335 right now, which we're happy with that price at this point in time.
And the prices are pertinent, Kevin, because the grades are improving at both production facilities as well. Can you talk about the grades at Mount Carbine that you're seeing with this new production rate?
As we get deeper into the pit, Pete, and I do have a slide here shortly on that, but as we get deeper into the pit, the grades are picking up, and we were a little flat on the first year's production. The grade was lower than anticipated, but it's higher than anticipated where we're at now in the operation. So it's yeah, so as you can see, the ramp up in production and MTUs on a month by month basis, you can see how it bounces around depending on what work we're doing at the time, right? And then also the crushing and sorting at Mount Carbine, how we've increased month on month on that as well, which is really the key to the Mount Carbine. The gravity plant will take everything that we send it, so it's more about crushing and processing. So yeah, the other big thing that Pete, that we've moved into is the owner-operated mining fleet. So we now are fully operational with our own kit now, and I believe we do have a couple of rental trucks, but we've purchased these Sandvik drills for the drill blast, and this is all in an effort to reduce operating costs in what we found, and to maintain flexibility as well in the operation. Where we have low-grade stockpiles, sometimes we need to mine that, sometimes so we're able to send a few trucks over there. So it just depends, and it's given us a huge amount of flexibility. And we can see from September's numbers, we've been running the owner-operated fleet in September, and we had record production.
And Kevin, that must flow into costs as well. It means you can maintain and you know what your costs are going to be. There's no surprises if you have to change your mine plan or something else happens that you want to move operation around. Having a structured workforce there gives you control of those costs.
Correct. And look, Goldings had done just an amazing job for us, setting the pit up and getting us starting. It's just the cost structure for a small operation. Goldings, they're such a large operator. It was difficult to maintain, but we did do that in the contract. Both of us had anticipated that we did have a 12-month gap to look at the costs and seeing if it was working for both companies. So it was a mutual. They understood that we weren't going to be able to afford that mining cost, and so far so good on our owner operated fleet.
Well, that's brought you in August 9,040 NTU of wolfram concentrate at uh, uh, tungsten concentrate at Mount Carbine, and 9,018 metric ton units at Saloro. Let's talk about Saloro, and you've only had that now since January. I think you deserve a lot of kudos for now seeing record production out of that facility.
Yeah, yeah, it is. Pete, would you mind if I just had one more crack at? I just wanted to make reference to here on the mining. This is kind of the crux at Mount Carbine before we move on to Solero. You see this strip pit cutback, right? This is what we're looking at, is taking off this block of ore, and we get down into this extremely high grade Alanth bluff system. And we just recently touched on the floor just at the very bottom here, and it was incredibly rich in September. The last week of September, we had record weekly production of 78 tons coming out of that little corner there. It was really nice. So and again, this is just showing the main ore body of the Alanth. So this blue line will be the ultimate floor, and this is where we're at currently. So we need to push back the walls and to get down onto this main ore body that's extremely rich.
So can you tell us about the grades there then, Kevin? I know that we early on, the focus was in almost the discovery of those king vein areas. Is this what we're seeing now?
This is what we're seeing now, Pete. And where the drilling went through, because we were at the side of the pit and the pit was full of water, we had to drill about 50 meters under where we started to mine. So we had no choice. So when we did get in and understand that, we realized that there was a difference between when you hit especially on the Johnson vein, was the one we hit on first, and there's like a lower grade section at the top, and then it gets into yellow, which is medium grade, and then you get into this super high grade here that runs on the floor. But interestingly enough, we did I don't know, maybe 100. We did 100 RC holes in the pit all through this thing here and on the pit floor. And what we found is that the Alanth and the Bluff actually go high grade pretty much right to the top, and where the Johnson is a bit weaker on the top as opposed to the bottom. So we drilled off of this side and come down, and these are the areas where our original drilling went through. So yeah, it was interesting time. So Pete, you asked about Solero, right? And the ramp up. So this is some of the work. So we got it in January, but we were already working it a little bit before January. But when we originally went into Solero, it was about 38% recovery, and I can tell you, like the last week of production at Solero, we've been over 60% from some of the work that we're doing now. Some of the new work that we've done is in installing the two ore sorters here. We got some new table sections in here, and we got some sizing screens, and there's an additional program of sizing screens, flotation work that we're doing. So it's an ongoing. So we're projecting to get up to 70% now. We originally said 65 would be probably the cap, but now we're seeing it that it's 70 is more realistic. Even 71 is where we're projecting.
And Kevin, what do you think is the key to that success you've had there? Given that it really has only been a short period of time since you've gone over and assessed the project, had a good look at it, worked out what it needed, and now implemented changes, new sorting equipment. It's been a spectacular increase in production there. And what do you see as being the main points there?
I think our experience at Carmine over the last 4 years, and certainly being able to translate that into Solero very quickly, we understood it, and there was also some credit given to the Masson Group as well. They helped us as well. Like, we have a technical relationship with them, and a couple of their key employees come over to help us and to give us some pointers as well on scheelite in particular. Scheelite's a little different than what we have at Wolframite at Carbine. But again, it was sort of getting back to principles on sizing and gravity separation, on and keeping the right sizes, the right densities. So just sort of back to basics again. And I think sometimes when you are into it for like they were for 3 years, struggling, and then you need a change of somebody to come in and stop it, and then fix the plant, and then make it get a structured program. And we also hired a very good guy over there, Everett. He's my right hand man over there on the ground, so I got to give him lots of credit as well.
And do you think you've got that upcoming now? Do you think there's more to tweak out of it? What's your outlook for that plant?
Yeah, it's Pete. Like from right now, we're stabilizing around 60%, and I can see 65 pretty quickly. I'm back over in November again, and I think by the time I get out of there at the end of November, we'll be at 65, and then climbing up to 70 plus in the very near future. So there's lots of work. We got Falcon concentrators going in, scavenging. We got some flotation stuff going in, a new screen. So there's lots happening. A scavenging jig. We think that's going to bring us up another few percentage points. And so yeah, pretty exciting because it's such a big mine and such a beautiful mine. It has the ability to dwarf carbine when you get the recoveries up, because every 5% recovery there makes a huge difference in revenue.
Yeah, and this is a good time to be producing at those grades too, Kevin. The global market for tungsten's pretty good, and the Chinese recently putting a damper on the antimony supply certainly saw a jump in the price of that commodity, and some people think that tungsten might be another commodity that the Chinese might focus on.
Even even with that, and even if they don't, Pete, here's what I see, right? Is it's like almost like a perfect storm developing. There's very little supply has dropped over the last 5 years from the Western world outside of North Korea, China, and Russia. Supply has dropped from like 12,000 tons of pure tungsten down to 7,500 tons of pure tungsten. So, we're members of the ITIA, the Tungsten Association. So we get these stats and we see the imports, and so you might have seen recently the deal with Elmet, right? And we've been talking about this vertical integration, right? That is probably not going to be a standard one, but what we've done is a back-to-back with the refinery. So we provide the refinery with raw concentrate. The refinery produces for Elmet, and they get their fund, and then Elmet buy the concentrate from the refinery. So we don't have to own a refinery, but yet we got investment back in from U.S. suppliers into the Department of Defense. And this is going to translate into all kinds of good things. And we're also selling to other customers in the US now. So we think that we're going to be the main supplier. So if in 2026 the Defense Act is saying that, look, there's no more Chinese tungsten after 2026. So where are we going to get tungsten from, right? It's got to be EQ Resources. So we don't see any other companies coming online by that time. So I think there's going to be a big disconnect between European supply of tungsten and the Chinese.
Now, it's a good position to be in, especially with the improvement in production rates recent times. Demand seems to be pretty steady and potentially increasing. Are you seeing do you see much inflow of inquiry for the product?
Tremendous amount of inquiry, Pete. We're like just trying to, as we ramp up, we're able to satisfy a couple of more customers here and there, but people are certainly looking to stock, and what we're seeing is that the U.S. Stockpile is depleted. The last they put out was down to 3%, and that was a couple of years ago. So they stopped putting out that. So we see tungsten as being a real winner coming into the next couple of years.
A great position to be in. I think still the largest supplier of tungsten concentrate in the Western world. That's a good title to have.
Yeah.
On to Wolfram Camp, Kevin.
Yeah. We just put out this announcement. I know we we were granted the permit from the tender process like a year ago, but it took a year to get the exploration permit all granted through various environmental and indigenous stakeholders that had to be satisfied and whatever. But our guys are solidly on the ground now. And what's really interesting, and again, it's one of these things when you look at stuff with fresh eyes and you're looking for tungsten in particular. So this is, they've identified, I was out there last week and they've identified 5 solid targets to explore. I mean, the pit at Wolfram Camp is exciting alone, but again, like Bamford Hill is probably going to dwarf that, what we can see from the geology right now. So again, it's there's some walk-up drill-ready targets that will be partaken in sometime in the future here, but we're looking forward to getting stuck in and drilling there. So and again, the low-grade stockpiles are quite a bit higher than carbide, and we will be looking at. There was some sampling done, as you can see in the picture there in the middle, but we'll be looking at sampling some of these dumps and the tailings, which is quite a bit richer. They didn't have a very good extraction rate.
And those tailings dumps, as you've found in the past, you can walk in and start making money from day one, which is a tremendous benefit. Do you see Wolfram Camp as an analog to Mount Carbine? Is it structurally different? Is it similar ground?
Yeah, there's the deposit itself is quite unique. It's a little different than carbine, and again, this by getting stuck in and sometimes treating and learning on the low grade stockpiles, it could be like carbine. Then you know exactly what your plan to put in for the future, right? And I think that's been one of our successes, that we've climbed up slowly at carbine by our bootstraps to learn about the ore, pilot it, learn small, and then expand, right? And continue to do so every week.
So, and Kevin, these with Wolfram Camp and Mount Carbine now expanding and potentially going underground, what do you see as, aspirationally the sort of life of the production through these assets that you've got?
Mine is easily a 20-year plus mine underground. It's there's a huge resource underground that needs to be converted. So again, we've said all along that we've opened the underground now. We're gone out to some contractors to take a look at the underground, to see what costs are going to be to start putting together a board paper to get the funding required to go underground and to drill this, right? So I think from a shareholder base, you're going to be seeing some very exciting drill results, because it's very high grade down in some of these zones that we've already drilled on resource, and we'll be infilling these zones, right? So it'll just be expanding all the way through. So you develop a very large resource, and then we'll be doing some trial mining, and so it's going to be an exciting year. I think it'll be good for the shareholders. We're growing both assets, and like I said, we'll be doing some exploration, which will be fun for the shareholders. So yeah.
Kevin, with that underground, would you say because it's more targeted and you don't have all the overburden, it's lower costs of producing per ton?
It probably be very similar when we get down to the lower extremities of the operation, but that Alliance vein, when we hit that solidly, Pete, that really throws off a lot of cash when we're down. We're down to like a 1-to-1 strip ratio, and the grades are like 0.45 or something. And right now we're running at a 5-to-1 strip ratio, and the grade's 0.25, so and that's all gravy, right? So you can see how much cash that will throw off. And so the open pit will, like, your cost of production will go down dramatically. And then, but what we've learned from the open pit, right, which I believe is quite sensible, is how these vein systems are acting, how they're behaving, and how you can mine them underground, and what widths you can practically mine them underground. So we're really looking forward to getting stuck in and rooking out some of this high grade from underground.
Kevin, just moving on a little bit to the side, your workforce up there in Queensland, you're living in paradise. You've got, I know went on a big recruitment drive probably 12 months ago. Can you talk a little bit about your workforce there on site at Mount Carbine?
Yeah, we're narrowing in probably on 140 people with doing our own mining now. Or by the time it's completely staffed up, the mining, I think we're going to be looking at 140 people up there. But it's drive in, drive out site, right? So people are loving it. We put buses on now, one to Mariba, one to Port Douglas, so they go different directions. So we're able to source work force from both those areas. And yeah, one shift takes it out and the next shift takes the bus in, right? So it's really saved the guys money from their own driving their own vehicles, an hour into site every day. And so they're greatly, and that's helped with retention a lot.
Yeah, because replacing staff, especially when you get to a scale, that's an expensive exercise. So keeping good people longer, you're saving money.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's good, Pete.
All right,
I think
so
that's
the share price is jumping along pretty well now, Kevin. It's up, broke through that 5 cent level. I think there's a bit of confidence now coming through. Tell us what you think the next quarter is going to show, given that you've kind of set the bar with that record production rate in August. What can shareholders look forward to now that you've sort of really broken through that critical area?
Oh, we meet progress month on month, Pete, right? And we think this quarter there's no reason it shouldn't be higher than the last quarter. And then we get into the rainy season on both sites for the quarter after that, right? So hopefully we'll be able to maintain that. I think we've set up Carbine to be able to handle the weather, but cyclone last year, and you never know. In Farnworth, Queensland, but yeah, so the next quarter is looking very positive. Spain's looking really good, and Carbine, we got some nice high grade coming out of the floor of the pit, and then yeah, we got to strip back. We got to strip back, Pete, and keep that get that off that Alanth vein, and once we hit down onto that solidly, look out.
And so therefore, the news flow in the next couple of months will be the Iolanthe drilling and the Johnson drilling and the cutback.
Yeah, we've drilled off quite a bit of that already with the RC drilling, but yeah, there'll be some exploration news coming out. We're also looking for the extension. It's folded out to the east. I know Tony, with these two new drills, we get one shift free to do RC drilling, so he's licking his lips there to get a hold of that drill and to be able to find the extension out to the east. And if we do that, then again, that's a real win. If we can find that and then drill that thing off, that could be a repeat of the ore body. And then again, getting underground is sort of the future here.
Well, it's been a great quarter, some great numbers, Kevin. There aren't many companies in the Australian stock market who are producing commodities, and very fewer of them producing at improving levels each month and every quarter. So it's shareholders should be happy to see what's going on. What's the last message you'd like to leave for shareholders before we say goodbye?
It's a growth story. Like we're continuing to expand in both operations. We're continuing to expand Carbine, right? So it's a growth story, and anybody that really studies the geology will know what we're talking about when we get into it. The two operations combined, we're seeing the synergies, and we're certainly looking at this vertical integration piece. There's a lot of interest from downstream players, and I think we found a model to plug that in between. So we produce the concentrate, we get it custom refined for them, and everybody's happy on the way through. So yeah, that's quite exciting. And government grants out of the U.S., right? We got some grants in place. So we're looking at hopefully securing them with our friends from Elmet have helped us through that process. So we're now a domestic supplier of U.S., right? So we're classified as a domestic supplier for the U.S. So it's pretty exciting in that regard to be able to have that status and apply for these grants that are available for critical metals.
Pretty exciting all around, Kevin. A good update, a great outlook. Thanks for joining us here today. There have been a few questions which I think we covered off, but if anybody has any specific ones, please send them through. I know Kevin loves to talk to his shareholders. So thank you for joining us, and thank you, Kevin.
Have a good day.